Hello, hello, guys. Welcome back. Today is a solo. It's our October solo. I'm going to start doing these more often so you can look for probably one a month. This month, I figured I'd talk about the Lucy experience as well as what it is like when you hire me as a consultant, either on the wholesale end or the gift end. But before we get into that, today is September the 30th. It is the last day of the month. And for those of you who know, I live up in Oregon now, and for the first time in my entire life, I'm living in an area that has four seasons. And I'm not you I literally I'm not California maybe has two, sunny and not so sunny. And while I loved the weather, and there are times living here, I'm like, God, I just so want warm weather. Um, by far and large, it's so lovely to see the change of season. And after this summer, we lived on site in Las Vegas for a month solid. It was 117 degrees for weeks there, and then came home to Medford, and it was again more 100-degree temps. Then went to Lucy's, and it was 110 to 114. Came back home, 100 degrees. All of a sudden, in the last week here, it's like Mother Nature literally just turned off summer. It has dropped considerably, like 20 degrees. It is starting to become cold now because somebody said, pay attention to the night temps. That's where you can tell. And night temps are starting to drop into this week, it's in the 40s. So now the trees are starting to turn red, and it is, oh my God, it is stunning. And it's raining. It rained yesterday. Today, it looks like it's supposed to rain. It sounds like it's going to rain later. And for those of us who are getting ready to start holiday installs, a lot of people are installing it early. I am here to tell you that I am burning a Christmas candle, the soap and paper line that is the Roll Pine, which is very close to Fraser Fir, and I love the scent. And listening to Christmas carols. I know I sound like an insane person, Christmas carols. But the thing is, it gives me joy. And I'm going into holiday installs. We leave for California in 17 days. And we're going to spend 2 days in Palm Desert for our anniversary because our anniversary falls on the 19th. And sadly, our first overnight is October 20th. So it doesn't make for the most romantic holiday, but we're going to take a couple days beforehand and start decorating. And I will say, as much as it's crazy to me setting up holiday for Bristol Farms, because I think I've said it here before, Bristol Farms goes all out, like all out. And it is garland from, if you think about walking into your grocery store, you walk into, say, the bakery. In the bakery, it's a counter that goes all the way around. Bakery turns into deli, deli turns into the meat counter, etc. There's lit garland all throughout that whole area. Every end cap has lit garland and decor on it. It's pretty amazing for a grocery store. I'm not going to lie. But the reason why they started doing it earlier and earlier is now they're starting to pair up their marketing along with the rollout of holiday. And this is something that you guys may want to do, because what they realize is that when people would come in, even though Halloween's not here, they literally walk into the Halloween balloons, the Halloween candy, and you look beyond it and it is all Christmas. But what they realized is that when they put that up, it gave a subtle message, maybe not so subtle, but it gave a message to people that the holidays are here and to remember you need to order, your turkey, you need to do certain planning things that came with Christmas, but it also gave people joy, and it also spurred on holiday sales. And I said this from our retail roundtable, for those of you who have heard it, is that maybe you haven't heard it yet because I don't think it's out yet. I think it's coming out next after this. But by putting it out early, it does spark joy. And you will have customers that come in. I can't believe you have Christmas out already. It's not even Halloween or Thanksgiving. But when you are owning all the inventory as you are, and you have X amount of time to sell it out, net 30, net 60, next 90, or you paid for it in full, you want to start selling it. And honestly, if it means putting it out early and it means getting a sell through and a jump on the season, and it gives people joy, especially with the way times are right now, whatever side you are on the political land, it has been some hard time. Like, it has been sad and depressing, and there's things that have made people angry, and it's not the most conducive to feeling those warm, fuzzy feelings. And I think a lot of people, in talking to the retail roundtable as well as talking to other retailers, everyone just wants that feeling of joy. And if it means putting out Christmas early, you don't have to play Christmas carols. Burn a Christmas candle, though. Get people excited about it. So Bristol Farms is brilliant in the sense of we are rolling it out in 14 locations. And as we roll it out, they are going to roll out their marketing for ordering your holiday meals. And you can order anything from a turkey to the pie to all the sides. And it starts obviously with the Thanksgiving first, and then it rolls into holiday. But the decor goes up, they put a table at the front where they do samplings, where they take orders, where they have menus available for people to see what they can order. But they push that at the same time as the decor is going up. Because again, it's that nod to the holidays are coming. You get kind of excited. There are things for you to buy now that are holiday that it's like, if you don't buy them now, they're going to be gone. And it gives people a little bit more time to enjoy the season. And to be honest, for all of you retailers, it gives you a jump on the Hobby Lobby effect, which is what I call it. Hobby Lobby has Christmas in July. I hate it. Well, I do not like the brand. That's going to leave it there. But it is a necessary evil, as I always say. In July, when we're setting up gift shows and I need Christmas decor and Christmas trees, guess what? Hobby Lobby's there for us. So it serves a purpose, but they bring it in July and they have huge markups, and the stuff is like stupidly expensive. So by the time they knock it down to half off, they still have their 100% markup guaranteed, or profit margin in there. But they're marking it down half off right at the same time, just about, that your products are being delivered. So I kind of like the idea of putting Christmas out for the joy, for the look, for the festive feeling, but also to get the most sales that you can get from your products. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So today's episode is about the Lucy's experience and about what it looks like to hire me and what I'm doing for my wholesalers, as well as what I'm doing when I work with retailers. And starting with Lucy's, I was approached by Amy from Stephen Young. She's the Arizona rep, and she asked me, "Do you want another renovation project?" And I was like, "Yeah." And Arizona, I've only spent a little bit of time there. I had a renovation project 3 years ago with Southwest Reflections, which was an amazing experience. And I'll tell you what makes experiences so amazing when it comes to renovation projects is the openness of the owner, of being open to change. And one thing I realized as I've gotten older is to be very frank about when you are bringing in a consultant, whether it's me or anybody else, is to be open to change and having you understand there are going to be points where you are uncomfortable. Maybe not, but a lot of times you guys have been doing something the same way. We only sell Voluspa here. It only sells here well. This only sells well at the cash wrap. This is always where we do this. This doesn't do well because we've put it here and it does. Your merchandiser is going to come in with totally clear eyes and a wealth of experience of working with a lot of different other retailers who have done things differently than maybe you have. If you're bringing in someone from the outside, you need to trust them. And ideally, you don't bog them down with a lot of, "Oh, we can't do that," or "We don't do that here," or "We have to show things this way." Because when you do that, it really does cut off, for creative people, it really cuts your creativity off, because suddenly because creative people, myself, Susan, Ron, Jess, like all of us that do this for a living, there's a process, and you start working with it, and you start touching the product, and you start moving it around and merchandising it. And it's a puzzle. It starts to come together as you are putting things together. And I'm the person that wants to try things like, let's see what this looks like. Let's try this. And if you are going into with these boundaries of, we don't do this, we don't like that, it really does slow the process down and it stops the creative process because suddenly now you're more worried about what you can't do versus what you can do. And when you're creative, you want that you can do anything, like everything you can do. I mean, with all reason, like we're not, merchandisers are not going to do something that's going to hurt your business. Merchandisers aren't going to make quick, rash decisions based on only what it looks like. Merchandisers are here to help you sell the product. And somebody had said a long time ago, merchandisers are the silent salespeople. If it doesn't sell, that is a problem for merchandisers. And all of us that merchandise understand this, both at the wholesale level and the retail level. No one is ever going to ask you to show something or try and make changes that are just based on visual because they want to change something. Yeah, there may be some, but by far and large, all of us are here to help you sell. So if you let us do our job and you let us kind of guide you into what you're thinking, and you are open-minded enough and you are willing to get a little bit uncomfortable, you would be surprised with the outcome. The best jobs I have had now and in the past have been where the owner or either the showroom owner or the vendor or the owner of the store just say, just do what you do best. That's why we hired you. And that is truly magic to all of our ears of do what you do best. That's why we hired you. So for Southwest Reflections in Arizona, I was brought on to take Joy and Adam, who own the business. Joy's parents owned this store years ago, and this has been a downtown Arizona, Scottsdale staple for years. I mean, I think it's 40 or 50 years her dad had it. And when she took this over from her father, they didn't do a renovation. They didn't change a lot. They brought in some new lines, but by far and large, it was the same fixtures. It was the same setup. I mean, I'm talking jewelry fixtures, where you get a buy and it's like, buy this fixture and you get all the earrings on it, blah, blah, blah. And PS, you start selling through it. There's no one manning or doing, your rep doesn't do inventory on it. You're not doing inventory on it. Next thing you know, it's half empty. Then you start ordering, you start putting other jewelry and shit on it. And now it's this mismatch or you sold out of a long time ago because you haven't had this line in 7 years, but you still have the fixture and you're using it. And I know you are all listening and laughing because somebody does this, but it has the branded name on it still, and none of the product is the branded name. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, makes me mental, but that's what Southwest had. So when I came in for them, I didn't fly in prior. I did everything on Zoom and I did everything through photos. So the process was like meeting with them, finding out what their needs were. And a lot of what I say is merchandising is not just making the old shit look good. It's really merchandising does start with the buying process because I have merchandise stores back in the day when I first started of we just want you to merchandise. And I'm merchandising stuff that's been in the store for years. One of my old clients was a pharmacy. I used to work with a lot of pharmacies. And one of them was San Peter Pharmacy, and Sarah and Marshall were like my Jewish parents. I love them more than anything. I still start to tear up because Sarah passed a couple years ago, but they're like my parents. And I took them from just a little bit of tie and stuff like that and developed all these major gift sections with them. And Marshall, who went to pharmaceutical school in New York, was friends with a lot of other a lot of other pharmacists. So a lot of them had come out to California. So Marshall would give my name out to other pharmacies. And one of them was Olympic Pharmacy, and Michael was the owner. And hilarious and not hilarious, but he had the same. I was brought in to re-merchandise just what they had. Wasn't helping with the buying, wasn't helping, just merchandise what they had. And I swear to God, some of that stuff they had for 10 years. No joke. And not to mention, they had never cleaned the shelves, so they still had dust on them from like past however many years. So that's what I used to do, was go in and just make what you owned look good. And as you move through this business, you start to realize it's not just merchandising the stuff. The merchandising really starts at the buying end. So in talking to Southwest Reflection and talking to them about like what they were doing, she had brought some lines in. I always ask, what shows do you do? They hadn't done a show for a few years. So I had them meet me in Las Vegas for one of the shows. And we added new lines. After going through all the photos and seeing all the fixtures and whatnot, they hadn't done any new fixtures in that store for forever since I guess her dad did hire for one of the stores a set decorator that did some really cool installations and some really cool fixtures that he had designed that looked straight out of the movies. They were amazing, but they didn't do it at this location. So we're starting basically from scratch. I took them through. We ordered brand new fixtures from my favorite, Kayla Lau. I'm saying it wrong, so I apologize. But that's my love of those fixtures goes very deep. So brought in new fixtures, introduced them to new lines, brought in more, went through their sales report, saw what was driving the business, where they were lagging, and went through that process. And then what happened was we wait for the product to be delivered, set a calendar date, and they packed up the whole entire store, which was overwhelming in its own. I thought we were going to do one side and then the other side because it was a massive two-side store. They packed up the whole store in one shot, which was amazing because it was like a store opening, but also so overwhelming because some of the things were like 8,000 shot glasses that were all wrapped in paper separately. But there's only so many things you can manage. So you kind of have to roll the punches. We reset the whole floor. We brought in Dave, who built their windows, like a lot of you, they had windows that started 4 feet off the ground. So we built platforms to bring the windows up at eye level. We had Dave he built some other new shelving. We took out a lot of the fixtures. And that was the big thing, was them being okay to have me go through and like, we're taking this out, we're taking this out. And a lot of it, to be honest, was those janky old jewelry fixtures that didn't have anything that was originally on them and that were half empty. And that's one thing still with you guys. Like, I will say this right now, take a look at your fixtures for where you do have fixtures. And if you have the product on it, how much is the product that's on the branded fixture? Is the fixture half empty? If it is, you need to make a decision. We either keep it full or we get rid of it and we merchandise the product somewhere else. A half empty fixture does your store no good. It looks literally like we're not into this anymore. We're phasing out of it. It doesn't look like it's sold out. Like it does so well. It's empty. That is not the message it's giving. It's giving the message of we don't care anymore and we're not moving forward with it. So we're going to let it sell out. And in that case, then throw a sale sign on it and get rid of the stuff. Don't leave it at regular price because you've just devalued it by the way you're merchandising it. And that goes with anything, the way you're merchandising things. Like, are things clean? Are they not? It all has to do with what value you're giving the product. And a half empty fixture is giving the value of we don't care about it anymore and we're moving away from it. So got rid of all those, kept the fixtures we were still going. And if you can, this is the other thing. If you are using it for other things, at least try and get the branded message or the branded signage off it. Can you cover it? Can you paint over it? Can you take it off? Like, but if it's a Blue Q fixture and it is no longer Blue Q merchandise, but it still says Blue Q, that shouldn't be. So see if you can do that. But anyway, I digress. So Southwest did that. The store turned out amazing. We redid everything from the way things are merchandised and brought in more products so we could do more storytelling and create more add-on sales with cross merchandising. So food, cookbooks. They never really did cookbooks, but they had dish towels. And I'm like, let's do cookbooks that all Southwest foods. And it has remained doing well. They've kept it up. I haven't been back. That was one of those one and done things, which was amazing. So when Amy approached me about Lucy's, I was like, yes. And same process is I will get the story from the rep. What's the situation like? What's the store like? And then I will talk to the owner. What do you need help with? What are you seeing the challenges are? What is working? What's not? How are your sales? And then once we establish that, then I'll ask for photos. And then once I know I'm pretty committed, then I'll start asking for sales reports. Some people don't like to give their sales reports away. They feel like it's giving away too much information. But again, your merchandisers are there to build your business. We need to see sales. We need to see what, for me, I'm helping them buy. And it's important that I see what is driving the business and what's not. For Lucy's, they did not have any departmental sales. They had it just everything under gift. So mental note to myself is that they need to be departmentalized. So meet with the owners, go through the reports. Then I ask for photos. I ask for photos for every single display in every single store, tabletops to the fixtures, to a video that walks through the store so I can see the floor plan. Because your floor plan has everything to do with your sales. Your merchandising has everything to do with your sales, as well as, do you have even the fixtures that can support the sales that you need and to bring in the inventory that you need to have the sales that you want? Um, and in the pictures are very telling. Like, I will literally go through them with a fine tooth, and if it's a video, I'll stop it and blow it up and double back and look at it again. But with seeing the videos, I can ID the products that they sell. I can see how they are merchandising them. I can see, do they have bins? Do they not have bins? Do they have architecture to build up the tables? Do they have the proper fixtures? And then once I do all that, I will have a Zoom call and I can see them face to face, because face to face, Zoom, as much as everyone is like, ugh, the Zoom from COVID and whatnot, the beautiful thing about Zoom and having meetings with clients that you're not in the same room is so you can look at them in the eye and you can get a read for their reaction when you are saying something positive and when you're saying something like, this isn't working. The reaction of the owner is equally as important. And it says a lot about how willing they are for change. Sometimes they'll roll their eyes like, and that says to me like little subtle things like, okay, they might be not so ready for change, or, whatever it is. But we'll do the Zoom call. I'll tell them exactly what I see. And it's part of that is giving free information, but a lot of that is really so you understand, I have seen your business and I understand, I have a grasp of what's working and I have a grasp of what is not working and why. And this is all, mind you, these are all prelim meetings. And for the bigger ones, I'll spend more time because it's time invested that's going to pay out at the end. But if I work with people for just Zoom consulting, this is a lot of what we do. And I want you to know, when I go through all the photos and all of the numbers and all of the things, I want the owner to know and understand that I understand and I can see what some of the tripping points and some of the issues that the store may be having. In Lucy's case, they didn't have fixtures that supported, and I will say this, I had pictures of the tabletops. I had a video of one store. They weren't able to get me videos of the other. But I was able to convey what I could see to the owners and say what my suggestions were, and this is how I can help. And at that point, they brought me on as a consultant. I'm going to be going out to the store. I'm going to walk the store. I'm going to see what they need, etc. And then we're going to do the gift show. Well, what happened was I was in gift show season, so I couldn't make the trip to their store before we did the show. So I had all of my notes, I had all my numbers, I had all the photos. I just had not been there in person. We did the gift show together. I did it with the owner, the assistant to the buyer, with the admin and the merchandiser, and the owner's wife, Lucia, this team is amazing. I could not ask for a better team that is so open to change and so excited. Was the big one. Like, all of them were equally as excited for this change. And we did the show, introduced them to new lines, and kind of took them through my process of curating groups versus buying and departmentally. I think before they were buying like, we like this, we like this. And so what happens when you buy based on things that you like and you don't have departmental, meaning you don't have like a candle department, a bath care, a personal care department, a men's department. I curate groups. So I will be curating as we go along. Kids is kind of kids. I don't really theme out anything with kids other than holiday. Men's is the same thing. Men's is men's. But within that, the rest of the groups are tabletop. And it's like, we did an Italian tabletop section and we did fall and Thanksgiving. We also did a manifestation section because one of the things that they did do really well with was crystals and tarot books and whatnot. And we added a lot of books because I know from all the stores I've bought from and merchandise, books do phenomenal. And they did a little, they didn't do a lot. And I think part of it was they weren't really sure. The other part of what I realized with their buying is that they never bought deep enough into one department or concept. They weren't concepting, so take that out of the equation, but they weren't buying enough in a department. So they were like little bits of a little bit of personal care, masks and eye lip balms and whatnot, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So when it gets to your store and you don't have enough of it, it doesn't make an impact. And it doesn't, I learned this lesson with personal care at Burt's Pharmacy. It's pharmacy. We sell personal care. I tested the waters with a couple lines. I didn't go deep enough. So when I started to look at the reports and started to look at, because again, we cross merchandise. So I was doing the colored out bath bombs with colored out books that were personal care, just kind of worked it that way. What I noticed is that all the other stuff is selling, the personal care is not. And reason being is that if you didn't like the 4 flavors that soap or lotion came in, then there was nothing else for you to buy. So, they had some personal care. They weren't deep enough in it. I also don't think you're going to a restaurant to buy personal care. And again, I may be wrong. This is just like my take on it. I would rather see tabletop in a restaurant. So we went more like that. But I'm teaching them walking through, I'm teaching them how to create stories and build your stories with products that are going to create add-on sales. So we were doing cookbooks, we were doing tabletop, we added in food, and then built up the men's department, whatnot. And again, they are learning how to buy more intentionally, but bigger purchases. So that also is a bit nerve-wracking for people when you need to fill the store up. You just don't realize how much it's going to cost. And when you start writing all these POs and you start adding it up, I think that starts to make people nervous. And then people start to back off and then you start canceling orders. So taking them through the process and walking them through, you do need X, Y, and Z in order to build this up to make impact. So did the show with them. It was amazing. I wanted to make sure that before all these POs rolled in, we addressed the POS system. So when I said I pulled all the reports and went through everything and seeing that gift was just gift. And I asked, they have somebody that does IT and just does reporting. And I said, how do you tell what's driving the business? And he said, we can't tell because it's all under gift. So finding out, does the POS system support having departments? Because it makes a world of difference to be able to look at a report and look at what the number one selling thing is right now. It's books for them right now. But to go through these reports and see what's driving the business, what is weak, and they've never done this before. So I had them set up departments. I gave them a list of general departments to start with. And now the new products rolling in, as they're putting it in, it's getting put into departments. They have to go back and retro inventory to make sure the stuff that was already there is put into the system departmentally. But by far and large, all this new merchandise, all is being put into the POS system by department. And now comes a time that now the product's been put in the system. They're starting to receive it. They're starting to process it. I came in, it was 3 weeks ago. And the intention was, all right, we're going to walk the store. I can see what you guys have. And then I'm going to make another date 3 weeks from now because we'll have most of the product that we ordered. And then we'll do the renovation. So I went to the store. And if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. Went to the store. They didn't have enough fixtures. And that's the one thing. It's like, if you have a goal of doing, say, $2 million a year in gifts, that's a lofty goal. You need to have fixtures that can support holding the amount of inventory that is going to turn those kind of numbers. And Lucy's has kind of like a 50s vibe. So a lot of the fixtures they had found at flea markets and vintage and garage sales, or, dumpster diving like we used to do at Anthropology. It's like this table somebody was throwing out. So we brought in. So it was a lot of tables. There was no bookcases. There was one set of shelving that was at one of the stores, but there was no way they were going to turn these numbers with these fixtures. So we ordered fixtures right off the bat from my first visit. I already knew what POs were coming in. So we knew we needed fixtures to hold X, Y, and Z. Another thing they did not have is binning. So lots of small things, like there was no baskets, there was no glass jars, there was no or plastic tubs. So we ordered glass jars. I get mine from Floral Supply Syndicate. They happen to have one in Los Angeles. They have one in Arizona. They have one in I think the Valley in California, but it's a phenomenal resource. And they are cylinders that we use. And they are anything from 3 inches high with 6 inch opening. There's no lids. You don't want lids, but they have 4 different sizes. They have probably 20 sizes, but I stick with 4 or 5 sizes. You want your binning consistent. You don't want to have 18 different versions, because what binning they did have was like old Jellycat baskets that, whatever assortment came in, then something else's assortment that came in that were again branded that are being used for other products, but they were using what they had. But it was one table had 6 different binning things on it. And that creates even more chaos when you're looking at a table display. So went through, ordered all new bins, ordered all new fixtures. So the next time I came in, we redid literally every single store, 3 store openings in 3 days with all new merchandise and new fixtures. And it was amazing. And when I say this team hustled, and like, I mean, the days were, I want to say none of the days were any shorter than 12, and like 14 hours, I think, is where we capped out. But it's one of those things where I love it so much. I don't realize how tired I may be because I'm running on pure adrenaline, and I am so happy to be doing what I love. I don't realize like how tired I am. And I can't expect that for stores teams to have that same energy and expect them to be the same hours I work. So I never go into it expecting, okay, if I'm going to be here 14 hours, you have to be here too. I personally would like to be on my own for a few hours, have the team come in, I have a plan for them. I give them X, Y, and Z projects, and I'm training somebody on the side. We're talking about why we're doing things, why something's spinning, patterns that we're creating in book shelving, how to display books. They didn't have book stands either. And book stands, I'm telling you, make all the world of difference. And this goes back to showing books at Stephen Young, that put books on book stands gets them upright. It also creates a pattern when you're merchandising. So we brought in book stands, taught them all that. But as we're setting, I am teaching as I'm setting of why we're doing things. Because ideally, one of the owners put it really well. Is this going to be like when you get your car washed and it looks amazing? It's shiny, it smells good. And then you come back 3 weeks later and there's food in it and it's not shiny and new anymore. And it's like, it's the car that you've been driving around for 3 weeks. It's now no longer pretty and perfect like the way it was when you got it detailed. I don't ever want that to be where I set it and it looks amazing and then I walk away and it falls apart and no one can maintain it. The idea is, would I work with you once or I work with you all the time? That somebody on the sales floor understands how to maintain it and understands the who, what, why. So when new product comes in, they kind of have an idea of how it would be merchandised or what the best way to show it or where it would go. It goes in this story. It's part of this collection. This is what I do when I work with big renovation projects. Fast forward, the store is set now. Now I have become their consultant. I've gone from being their consultant to being their buyer, which is amazing, but it is another level of service that I do. It's a lot more of going through reports. It's a lot more with meeting with the team. So every week I have a Zoom call with the team. We go over the sales reports because now each member of the team gets a sales report, and that's key, you guys. I know, like I said, some people don't like to give their numbers out. I worked for a store that the owner was adamant of not giving anyone numbers of, like, even when it got down to a goal for the store, he didn't want anyone to know what the store did because his thought was they were going to ask for more money, which is absurd. Your team needs to understand sales and numbers, and your team needs to understand, especially if they have a goal, like, hey, we need to hit $4,500 today. What does that look like? It looks like 5 salespeople. This is the goal for each of you. And this is what it looks like on the hour. Like, your sales team needs to understand that. And the only way they're going to understand that is to see the numbers. So now everyone on the team gets a copy of their sales reports. And our sales reports are broken down by TYLY, this year, last year. And even though, unfortunately, now with the tariffs, that they may not have as much to do with the other, but it's still important for me to see it. We see reports by sales by department. We see sales by vendor. So I can see Mud Pie. I can click on Mud Pie and I can see all the things that Mud Pie sold in that location because I'm getting 3 reports. And it is showing me cost margins. So where we are under margin and where we are over. With the markup, I changed them also to nothing should be anything lower than a 2.5. A lot of the things they were running on Keystone, and you can't run on Keystone, and you certainly couldn't run on Keystone before tariffs, and now after tariffs, you absolutely cannot run on Keystone. 2.5 at least covers your freight. And freight is usually, anywhere from 10 to 15%. Ideally, you're getting a show special where you're getting free freight, but within that 2.5, you're pretty good on being able to have your freight included in that. Restaurants run on margin. So I now have to look at margin and 2.5 markup, which are basically the same thing. 2.5 is about a 60% margin, but that's the other part of the report. But now every week I'm looking at these reports because the reports are also telling me what's driving their business. Not only that, but it's also telling me, say, for instance, Bella Cucina is selling at one of the locations. It's not selling at the other. I know exactly why it's not selling because the table's very full. I mean, it was full when I left, and we have received several shipments that pieces are going back into that thing. So my assumption is that it is very crowded and you're not seeing it. So when I met with them today, it was like, hey, I'm noticing it's not selling here. Let's move that product over to the Thanksgiving table where you've had some sell through. So you have some empty spots. Let's move that over there. Make sure you move the crackers over there because gifts hand in hand. If we have little dip cups, make sure you show them next to the dip. So again, I'm still training them and I'm still working with them. And then I will go back to reset them in holiday. I'll work with them daily on the reports. I will work with them doing their orders in the show season. 4 times a year, I will go to the store and rework the whole store. I did that with Masson A as well. 4 times a year, I went out. We rolled out basically every big season. So I'd be there in February to roll out spring. I'd be there in March, April, May to roll out summer. And then I would come in September to roll out fall and then be back again very shortly after Halloween is when I showed up and we set up holiday. So 4 times a year. And other than that, the store maintained it. They were really good about maintaining. They were able to keep it. There wasn't a lot of merchandise rolling in and out where it was like, where we put this. So it worked out for them. So with my wholesale vendors, I 2 times a year, I'm with them. Same thing. I will go through their floor plans if it's a brand new vendor. I'm very excited to say, and I can say it here now, that Stonewall Kitchen is who is my new client. And I can't even tell you how excited I am for Stonewall Kitchen. This is something I've wanted forever. So we're going to be rolling out Stonewall Kitchen for this January show. Susan is going to be helping me out. Susan will be doing Dallas, but it's starting at the same thing. We're starting at floor plans. We're starting at what's working, what's not. We're starting at looking at what architecture we have. How can we improve what they're doing right now? And that's really with wholesale. That is what retail as well, but really with wholesale, because it's only 2 times a year. How do we improve on what they've been doing? We're either going to change everything. CMA, when we did the CMA expansion, everything changed. Every single line was changed on how that it was showed. Like everything was leveled up. For other brands, it's like tweaking what they have, or it's a showroom that I work in and it's a brand new vendor that's coming in and we're designing their setup. Cape Diablo was last season, or it's a brand new vendor and we're rolling out a brand new product. And um, ideally, again, the best projects like the Loyal West last January was we have 3 showrooms. This is our product. This is our other. They're also Myra bags. Sorry. They're in Nest, they're in Link showroom, and they are in Kathy and Co. in Dallas. And it's a lot of the same merchandise. It's cowboy boots, tooled leather, accessories, etc. The new project, Loyal West, they really wanted it to feel different. So for working with wholesale, if I'm designing the space, I will go through and create a whole entire image board of what we were thinking for Loyal West. It was an equestrian vibe because I wanted everything they do is very Western and it's clear it's very Western. So we wanted to make sure it looked different, but still worked in that genre. So that was the Loyal West project where it was based on kind of the Ralph Lauren Polo Lounge and that dark and moody burgundies and reds and a little bit like touches of gold, whether they're the chandeliers and, suitcases as props and risers and whatnot. And that's how those are the dreamy projects where you get to dream up the whole thing. Other ones we're walking through with, again, how can we improve what you're doing already? Stonewall Kitchen. I'm going through videos of all their showrooms. I'm looking at all their fixtures. We're looking at all their props. And now it's really like, how do we elevate what they're doing and how do we continue to tell the story that they're selling and elevate it? Other showrooms, it's a brand new setup. They already know what they want. I have to make sure it's, again, presented well. It is easy to shop. It is storytelling. A lot of people hire me and my company for wholesale because we tend to merchandise more like retailers. And my philosophy is, when you are shopping as a buyer, which I have, all of us shop by visual. All of us shop by like that. Oh my God, that looks so good. I want to go in and see it. Like the new not Choose Company, the new rollout for Creative Co-op, and I forget the name. It's 2 names. It's so cute. Their visual is so good that you could see people walking by this new section and being like, oh my God, what is that? And they merchandised in multiples versus most of the time when you do the shows, it's one sample, one of each. So when you tell these stories, you really kind of have to beef it up with props to really make it feel full and tell that story. Moxie Mix, I wish I could remember the name of it, but they were brilliant in the sense of they understood to bring in quantities. Mud Pie does the same thing. So it's set up like a retailer would set up with the amount of inventory that they show as a you would show as a retailer. So it wasn't 1 or 2 of the SKUs. It was the full 6 runs, 12 runs, and which is great because then you can show, say it's, for Mud Pie, it's the little cello bags with the little wind up thing with the cookies, that I would prefer to see it in a big glass bowl, just so you can pick it up versus out lined up on a shelf. So when you show for wholesalers, when we show multiples, it shows better to your retailer because it looks like what it's going to look like in your store. So that's when I work with wholesalers, that's a lot of what we do. I will from time to time do just some consulting with wholesalers where I'll, tell us what can you see? We can't afford to bring you on to do the whole thing. Tell us what you would suggest for creating stories, for remerchandising it differently. And that looks more like me. Same thing. I start with going through the photos. I start going through understanding what the flow of the floor looks like, because sometimes you're not getting sell through because the floor plan is so bad. Like one space in one of the showrooms we were working in, space is challenging in some of the showroom spaces because it's not like a store you can just keep moving it, making it bigger and bigger. They pay rent based on their square footage and their space. And you can't bleed out into somebody else's space. So sometimes when they have new fixtures, say that, it's a big, huge jewelry fixture or whatnot, sometimes it doesn't have room to float somewhere. And sometimes you have to butt it into something and kind of do what you can do. And that being said, sometimes what that creates, if you don't have enough space, is it creates these funny little pockets. And you as buyers go in, it's like, oh, this is so cute. And then you realize there's only one way to get out. And that is now filled with a bunch of other buyers that are just coming in. And it creates these clusterfucks, I like to call them, of like, it's too hard to go in there and shop. I'm just going to pass it. I'm just going to walk away. Your stores have this issue too. There are pockets, I'm sure, in everybody's store that you realize you see people walking in. All you have to do is stand back and watch how people walk through your store, but you realize there's pockets where you see people walk in and you see them walk right out. That's one of two things. Either it's too claustrophobic or it is too hard to get in. It doesn't flow. It doesn't feel open. You feel almost like, am I going into, is this part of the store? Am I allowed to be back here? But there are pockets, retailers have this as well. Wholesalers really have it often because, again, your floor space is limited to the vendor you're working on. And you kind of have to do what you have to do. So that's one of the things I'm looking at when I see videos with vendors. We're looking at architecture. What are the fixturing? If it's not branded fixturing, what is the fixtures? Are they all mismatched? Do they flow? Does it work? Uh, is walls, wallpaper, signage on the window, everything. We will look at that. And those ones for the Zoom consultings, I will sit with them on the phone and go through a presentation of what I see. This is working. This isn't. This looks like a cluster. Is there another place this can go? Do you need this fixture? It's half empty. Do we need this fixture? Or is it going to be full? Because wholesalers have that same issue as well. Again, a lot of the wholesalers only get one sample. So when you have one sample, if you have a massive fixture and you only have one sample of each of these things, it looks half empty. It doesn't look abundant. It doesn't look like enticing. It's not going to make you want to walk over there and look at it. You're going to look at it and go, this looks like they are not going forward with it, or it's not important or whatnot. So that's what I will do with Zoom, with merchandising for wholesalers. Preferably, we're actually doing it on site, merchandising it. And that's the beauty of having shows and holiday for retailers. They both I have the ability to work in both lands. So I'm done with my holiday sets mid-November, and I will transition into my wholesale showrooms starting the Monday after Thanksgiving. So it's great. I'm able to do both. If you are thinking about, you wanted to hire a merchandiser, if you want to work with me, we are going to start rolling out Zoom consulting on a monthly basis, where it is a one fee, where it's not amount of money that's going to make you go, God, I don't know if we can do this. And it will give you an ability to tap into working with myself and doing exactly what I'm talking about right now, going through your floor plans, meeting with you once or twice a month. We're thinking right now, I'm saying we're thinking like as if there's like 5 of us. I am thinking right now that it's a 2-hour a month Zoom meeting. And that could be broken up into 2 different calls if you want. 1 hour in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks later we have another call, or you have once a month, we do the 2-hour call all as one. You have a chance to ask me whatever questions. This isn't working. Can we walk through this? Can you look at this? Can you tell me what you think of that? What brands do you think I should do? What works with this? Any of the questions that you think you need a merchandiser for, we can talk about your floor plan. I can tell you what fixtures I would suggest, or where I can see that you have improvement that is easy to make, that's not going to cost you a fortune. And what it does is it gives you access to the years that I have in this industry without it costing as much. You can also hire me, to come in and help you with this, both on an in-person or you can hire me to do what I do with the wholesale vendors, where we go through once a week, we talk. I meet you at the show, I walk the show with you, whatever works for you. But I think the new Zoom consulting thing is, if you don't have a big budget, you need some help, you just want some advice, you just need somebody to tell you, yes, you're going in the right direction, then that would be for you. And that would be 2 times a month. And I think it's going to be $250 a month. And again, you can do 2 hours in one shot once a month, or break it up into 2 times. And then if it's working, then we add to it. If it's not working, then you step away from it. But that's something we're looking at going into January with that. I think it's I think it's worth it, in the sense of, if you're stuck and you've been doing this forever and you just need a second set of eyes, let that be myself. We're going to be bringing in other merchandisers as well. I would love to be able to do not conferences, but like Zoom workshops where we have several merchandisers talking at the same time, where everyone can ask questions. But we're starting it at the Zoom consulting part, where it can help you with your store, to get you some answers, to get you a new set of eyes looking at what you're doing. And now, after hearing what I do for both sides of the industry, it kind of gives you a good idea of what it would be like to work with me. So if you're interested, you can send me an email to mcdesigncollaboration@gmail.com, or you can send me a DM on Instagram, or you can send me an Instagram DM here for the Retail Whore podcast. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about my experience with Lucy, what a dream it is to work with them, and talk to you a little bit about like what is happening for, the shows and what it looks like and all the stuff. So I know it's been a long one. I'm going to let you guys go. If you have any questions, always please feel free to reach out to me. I try and answer each and every one of your DMs as best as possible, as quickly as I can. And with that, I'm going to say thank you. Have a great holiday season, everyone. This will be the last solo that you'll hear. I'm not going to do one in December. So you'll have one in November, but this is one of the last ones of the year. So enjoy. Show me your pictures of what you're doing. I can't wait. And then don't forget, also, we have Show Me Your Store is still very much going. And that you can get the form from MC Design Collaboration Instagram. You can go, or the website, go to mcdesigncollaboration.com, go to the tab that is Show Me Your Store. And it's a quick and easy fill out. Then I'll film it for you and give you all of my feedback. And if you are thinking about submitting your store to the podcast, please do. Some of my favorite stories right now are coming out of the Submit Your Store, because honestly, there are a million stores out there, and there's only so many I have my thumb on in Instagram and whatnot. And some of the stores that are submitting their story are so incredible that I know you guys are loving, because I'm getting a ton of DMs of like, that was such a great episode, so much information. So please submit your store. That one, you go to retailwhore.com, retailwhorepodcast.com. Same thing, go to the tab, submit your store. There's also for questions for Susan's and my show, Shelf Talk. So you can also submit a question there for Susan and I. And that is a lot of information for you guys to take on. So I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you all so much. I can't wait to hear about how your holidays were. And please let me know again if you have any questions. Have a great day, guys. Bye.